I know from experience how real personal growth actually happens. And I can also tell you exactly how it doesn't happen because I know how it didn't happen for me. It didn't happen because I joined the 5 a.m. productivity cult. It didn't happen because I followed everything that Alex Hormozi and all the other internet gurus told me to do. And it definitely didn't happen because I binge listened to every personal development podcast on the internet. The truth is, most of what we call personal development, it doesn't actually produce real growth. But in this episode today, I'm going to show you what actually does produce real personal growth. You see, over the years, I've helped a lot of people get unstuck. And through that process, I've discovered something quite fascinating. Real growth doesn't happen through productivity hacks or other things like that. Real growth happens through something much deeper. It's something that I like to call growth by design. Now, I'm going to unpack what this means in a moment, but I want you to get used to that phrase, growth by design. Now, I'm not talking about some kind of external design. I'm talking about the fact that as human beings, we were actually designed and created for organic growth and development. We were designed to mature. We were designed to become more capable over time, more experienced, more fruitful, to move forward into what I like to call convergence, the place where your life and your strengths and your purpose, they all begin to align and come together because growth is supposed to happen naturally. It's inbuilt. It's like a fruit tree. You're supposed to produce good fruit naturally and organically. However, if growth is natural, and if what I'm saying here that growth by design actually exists, then we've got to ask the question, why do so many people feel stuck in life? Why do so many people get stuck in life? Why do we hear so many people telling the story about how they feel stuck in a rut, like they're not growing, like they can't break through, that they feel depressed, like they want to escape and get away from their own life? Well, the truth of the matter is that the real problem why most people never experience natural growth or organic growth, it's because they're living out of what I like to call a learned, diminished version of themselves. This is so important that we actually start to understand what this means. Learned, diminished version of themselves. I'm going to unpack this for you in a moment. I want you to take the time to really concentrate because actually, if you can get this, you'll be on your way to experiencing some real personal growth and development. For all of us, when we're young, we go through experiences that shape us. We experience broken relationships, disappointments, family dysfunction, traumas, setbacks. Unfortunately, it's part of the journey of life. We would like it not to be, but it is. And usually these things happen in our formative years when we are growing, when we're developing as people, but also when we're very young and immature. And because we're immature when these things generally happen, we don't know how to process them properly. We don't know how to deal with those difficult things that go on in our life. And so what happens is we react to those circumstances and we learn to build coping mechanisms. We learn how to survive in life. We learn how to just get by. But in the process of developing these coping mechanisms, we actually manufacture a learned, smaller or diminished version of ourselves. As a result of turning ourselves into this false version of ourselves as adults, we try to build a successful life from that diminished version. We try to find purpose and direction and growth. But the truth is, if you're not living life from your true self, and I'm going to write those words on the board in a moment because you really need to capture that. If you're not living from your true self, you can never reach your true potential. So I said we need to talk about true self. So let's get these words on the board because these are absolutely crucial. And you're going to hear me talk about this a lot. True self is this idea that there is a version of you that needs to exist that isn't actually the learned, diminished version of you. If you keep on trying to live life out of that learned, diminished version of you, you can never actually get to where you're trying to go because the true you is still buried deep on the inside. I like to explain it to my clients and the people that I work with this metaphor. I like to talk to them about the big red dot. Now, if you've ever been to a large shopping centre somewhere or a shopping mall, where you've actually gone there to try and find a specific store, and you walk around on ground floor, and then you go up to level 1 and level 2 and so on and so forth, depending how big the building is. And no matter how hard you try, you can't seem to find that one store that you thought was in a certain location, or you would swear to everybody you knew it was in this spot last time, and effectively you're lost. You're trying to find this location, but you just can't get it. And so what do? We go across and we find the information board or the shopping centre map. There's one in every one of these shopping centres around the world. It might be in print or it could be digital. And you go and stand in front of it, and on every single one of these information boards is the big red dot. And you know what I'm about to say next because you've been there and so have I. There's 3 words next to that big red dot, and those words are, you are here. And then usually they put a dirty big red arrow pointing at the red dot, and you look at that red dot and you see its location and the names of the stores around you, and you look around and you check out the stores, and something on the inside wants to argue with the map. We want to look at it and say, this can't be true. This can't be right. This isn't where the shops were last time I came to this building. But the truth of the matter is, unless you're willing to get honest about where you actually are as your starting point, you will not have any chance of finding that preferred store, that preferred location. And you know what? We do the same thing in our lives. We can argue all day long if we want to about our actual truthful start point, our location. But if we can't get honest about where our true start point is, we will start charting a path from a false beginning to our preferred destination, and we will get lost along the way every single time. The only way to get to that preferred destination of your life is you've got to start with the big red dot that says, you are here. Friends, the truth is, real personal growth begins with discovering the true you. Really important that you start to get an idea around this phrasing, true you. That's how you're going to experience some real personal growth, because actually you can do what we should be doing in front of that shopping centre map. We start with the red dot that says, this is where I actually am. This is where I actually need to begin from. And so I want to take you through 3 steps that I've used that have helped me to experience real personal growth. It's not the stuff I said at the start of the episode. It's not joining the productivity cult or becoming the #1 disciple of Alex Hormozy or listening to every podcast you can possibly get your hands on. There are 3 simple things that you can do to experience real personal growth in your life. So here they are. There's 3 things that I encourage all of you to do if you want to experience some real personal growth. Step number 1 is to begin within. So much of what we hear in today's world about how to get growing and how to get unstuck, it focuses on things that are external to you, activities that you can do, learning that you can do. And there's nothing wrong with those things, but they shouldn't be first. What we've got to do is we've got to start to work from the inside out, not simply trying to install new routines and new productivity systems, new habits. The real work actually starts from the inside, and that comes from you accepting that growing your inner life is the start point for producing real results in your external life. Step number 2, brutal honesty. Now, if you're not familiar with being really honest about yourself, again, just start with the big concept that we talked about a moment ago, which is the big red dot. Get the courage on the inside to get honest with yourself about your actual starting point. Maybe for years you've been pretending that you're a certain someone, that you've been putting out this message to the world that you're a super capable leader, but actually on the inside, you are brittle and insecure and damaged and uncertain about who you are in this world. Well, it's time for you to stop living that learned, diminished version of you. Get brutally honest. Think about the big red dot. Look yourself in the mirror, so to speak, and say, you are here. You've got a few fears going on. You've got a few wounds that have created some dysfunctional patterns. You see, the moment you tell the truth about where you are, that becomes your first step in being able to actually move in the correct direction that you're trying to go in. And step number 3 is to build what I call the self-awareness muscle. SAM. Build your SAM. Build your self-awareness muscle. Why? If you're not a self-aware person, you have no idea what's going on internally or externally, what other people's motives are, why they're treating you the way they are, why they're communicating with you the way they are. Self-awareness has to become a high priority for people who are wanting to experience real personal growth. And I want to give you this real simple framework that I give to all of my clients when it comes to this idea of building your self-awareness muscle. The first word is the word excavate. This simply means that we've got to take the time to look internally, ask ourselves some provoking questions around, why did I think that? Why did I say that? Why did I feel that way? And to continue to dig deeper, because what will happen if you excavate in that way, you will discover some really powerful home truths about what is actually functioning on the inside of your life. And then what happens is you can surface some of those things. And you can work through the process of figuring out, what should I keep? What should I get rid of? But if you never excavate, you don't get to surface things, and you don't get to do this last step, which is to sift through the good, the bad, and the ugly to understand what I can take forward with me and what I should leave behind. This is so important. And these 3 steps, they're within the reach of every single person. Begin within, have brutal honesty about your start point, and build your self-awareness muscle. You know, all of this talk reminds me of a recent client of mine by the name of Nicole. I remember when she came to me for help, she was completely stuck. She felt lost. Some of her relationships were struggling and failing, didn't know her direction in life, and she really didn't have any handles on how to get growing and how to make progress. And so when we started to work together, we started applying these 3 principles of begin within, get brutally honest, and build that self-awareness muscle. And the great news for her, and I'm really excited to see this happen every time, is that over a period of time, everything started to change for her. It wasn't too long after she started working with me that she actually sent me this message. She said, Andrew's wisdom is to see into the problem, then explain it and provide real actionable strategies. His other strength is integrity to stand with you and help you believe what he already sees in you. I want you to have that same experience too. I want you to get the experience of real personal growth and to understand it doesn't come from growth hacks. It comes from discovering the true you. And that journey always starts with one moment, standing in front of that big red dot, beginning within and realizing this is my actual start point. If you've enjoyed what you've heard here today, you might want to jump in the notes below, check out the link to my transformation program that I call the True Self Transformation Program. You can join in with other students, other clients of mine that are getting this exact kind of work happening in their world, and they also are experiencing real, measurable personal growth that is transforming their journey. I appreciate you taking the time to be here, and I'd love to see you in another video real soon.